Welcome to our channel. Today we embark on a somber journey, a pilgrimage of remembrance through the annals of aviation history. The decade spanning 1990 to 2000, a time of great technological advancement and human endeavor, was also marked by a series of tragic aviation accidents that shook the world. These were not mere statistics, but profound events that etched themselves into the collective memory of humanity, forever altering the landscape of air travel. These incidents, each unique in its circumstances, serve as stark reminders of the fragility of life and the ever-present challenges inherent in conquering the skies. They compel us to confront the delicate balance between human ambition and the unforgiving nature of the physical world. We must remember these tragedies not to dwell in sorrow, but to learn from the past and strive for a safer future. Join us now as we delve into the intricate details of these events, examining the contributing factors, the human cost, and the lasting legacies that continue to shape the world of aviation today. Our journey will take us across continents, from the bustling skies over Asia to the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, each stop a solemn testament to the lives lost and the lessons learned. Our journey begins in the mountainous region of Japan, where on August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123 took off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport, destined for Osaka. On board were 524 souls, unaware that their flight would soon become a harrowing testament to the unforgiving nature of mechanical failure. High above the verdant slopes of Mount Osutaka, disaster struck. A faulty repair on the aircraft's rear pressure bulkhead, conducted 7 years prior, finally gave way. The resulting explosive decompression tore through the Boeing 747, severing hydraulic lines and leaving the aircraft crippled, its fate sealed in the skies above. The pilots, Captain Masami Takahama and First Officer Yutaka Sasaki, fought valiantly to regain control of the plummeting aircraft. Their struggle, captured on the cockpit voice recorder, paints a picture of extraordinary skill and composure amidst unimaginable chaos. For 32 agonizing minutes they wrestled with the controls, desperately trying to guide the mortally wounded aircraft towards a safe landing. Despite their Herculean efforts, the crippled jumbo jet, its tail section largely gone, crashed into Mount Osutaka. The impact, a devastating blow against the unforgiving mountainside, claimed the lives of all but 4 passengers, a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of such catastrophic failures. The crash of Japan Airlines Flight 123 sent shockwaves throughout the aviation world. It led to significant changes in aircraft maintenance procedures, with a renewed emphasis on the importance of meticulous inspection and repair. The tragedy stands as a somber reminder that even the most advanced machines are susceptible to failure, and that human error, even in the most well-intentioned circumstances, can have devastating consequences. Our journey takes us now to the skies above New York City, where on a crisp November morning in 2001, American Airlines Flight 587 took off from JFK International Airport, bound for Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. On board were 260 passengers and crew, their hopes and dreams set on reaching the sun-kissed shores of the Caribbean. Just minutes after takeoff, tragedy struck. The Airbus A300, caught in the invisible wake turbulence of a preceding Japan Airlines Boeing 747, encountered severe aerodynamic forces. These forces, acting upon the aircraft's tail fin, exceeded its structural limits, causing it to snap off entirely. The pilots, stripped of their ability to control the aircraft, found themselves battling to maintain stability as the A300 entered a catastrophic spin. The aircraft, now plummeting towards the earth, crashed into the quiet neighborhood of Belle Harbor, Queens, sending shockwaves through a city still reeling from the September 11th attacks just 2 months prior. The crash of American Airlines Flight 587, though occurring in the shadow of a national tragedy, served as a stark reminder of the ever-present dangers of wake turbulence. particularly for aircraft following in the path of larger jets. The tragedy prompted the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, to implement new regulations and training procedures emphasizing the importance of pilot awareness and proper spacing between aircraft during takeoff and landing. The disaster also highlighted the critical role of pilot training in handling such extreme events. The investigation revealed that the first officer's excessive use of rudder pedals, attempting to counter the wake turbulence, ultimately contributed to the structural failure of the tail fin. This finding led to enhanced pilot training programs focusing on better understanding and responding to wake turbulence encounters. Our somber journey takes us now to the skies above the Taiwan Strait, where on May 25, 2002, China Airlines Flight 611, a Boeing 747 en route from Taipei to Hong Kong, became a tragic testament to the unforgiving nature of metal fatigue and the importance of meticulous aircraft maintenance. High above the azure waters of the strait, disaster struck with terrifying swiftness. A catastrophic structural failure, originating from a poorly repaired tail strike incident 22 years prior, ripped through the aircraft. The once mighty jumbo jet, now irreparably compromised, disintegrated in mid-air, scattering debris across a wide swathe of ocean. The 225 souls on board, their journey abruptly cut short, had no chance of survival. The wreckage, scattered across the ocean floor, painted a grim picture of the forces at play. Investigators, meticulously piecing together the fragments of the aircraft, uncovered a story of missed opportunities and a systemic failure to address a critical structural flaw. The investigation revealed that the original tail strike, occurring during a landing in 1980, had been improperly repaired. Instead of replacing the damaged section of the tail, a repair patch had been applied, a decision that would have fatal consequences 2 decades later. Over time, stress and fatigue cracks propagated around the edges of the repair, weakening the structure until it finally gave way. The tragedy of China Airlines Flight 611 sent shockwaves throughout the aviation industry, prompting a global review of aircraft maintenance practices, particularly for aging aircraft. The disaster highlighted the importance of thorough inspections, proper repair techniques, and the need for a culture of safety that prioritizes long-term structural integrity over short-term cost-saving measures. Chapter 4: Fuel, Fire, and the Skies Ablaze. The unanswered questions of TWA Flight 800. Our somber journey now takes us to the skies above the Atlantic Ocean, where on the evening of July 17, 1996, TWA Flight 800, a Boeing 747 bound for Paris, became an emblem of tragedy and unanswered questions. The aircraft, taking off from JFK International Airport with 230 souls on board, embarked on what should have been a routine transatlantic flight. Just 12 minutes after takeoff, disaster struck. A fiery explosion ripped through the aircraft, engulfing the Boeing 747 in a catastrophic inferno. The once majestic jumbo jet, now transformed into a falling torch, plummeted into the dark waters off the coast of Long Island, New York. The crash of TWA Flight 800 sent shockwaves throughout the world, prompting one of the most extensive and complex aviation investigations in history. The National Transportation Safety Board, determined to uncover the truth behind the tragedy, spent years meticulously piecing together the wreckage, analyzing evidence, and exploring every possible scenario. The investigation ultimately concluded that the most likely cause of the explosion was an ignition of the flammable fuel-air mixture in the center wing fuel tank. While the exact source of the ignition could not be definitively determined, the NTSB pointed to a number of contributing factors, including the potential for electrical faults and the vulnerability of the fuel tank to heat sources. The tragedy of TWA Flight 800 led to significant changes in aircraft design and safety regulations. New requirements for fuel tank inerting systems designed to reduce the risk of explosions were implemented. Additionally, the FAA mandated stricter electrical wiring inspections and modifications to reduce the risk of sparks or short circuits near fuel tanks. Chapter 5V: Inferno in the Skies, Swissair Flight 111 and the fight against in-flight fire. Our somber journey now takes us high above the Atlantic Ocean, where on September 2nd, 1998, Swissair Flight 111, a McDonnell Douglas MD-11 en route from New York City to Geneva, became a tragic testament to the devastating speed and ferocity of in-flight fires. The flight, carrying 229 passengers and crew, had been cruising smoothly at 33,000 feet when disaster struck. An electrical short circuit originating in the aircraft's entertainment system wiring ignited a fire within the insulation materials behind the cockpit. The flames, fueled by the flammable nature of the insulation, spread rapidly through the aircraft's ceiling and walls. The pilots, confronted with a growing inferno and a cockpit filling with smoke, fought valiantly to maintain control of the aircraft and attempt an emergency landing in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Their heroic efforts, captured on the cockpit voice recorder, paint a picture of professionalism and courage in the face of unimaginable danger. Despite their best efforts, the fire continued to spread, eventually disabling critical flight control systems and rendering the MD-11 uncontrollable. The aircraft, engulfed in flames, plunged into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Peggy's Cove, Nova Scotia, claiming the lives of all on board. The tragedy of Swissair Flight 111 sent shockwaves through the aviation industry, prompting a global review of aircraft fire safety standards. The disaster highlighted the importance of fire-resistant materials, particularly in areas where electrical wiring is present. Chapter 6: A Descent into Mystery, the Enigma of Egypt, Air Flight 990. Our journey takes us now to the dark depths of the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Nantucket Island, Massachusetts, where on October 31st, 1999, Egypt Air Flight 990, a Boeing 767 en route from Los Angeles to Cairo, plunged into the sea, taking with it the lives of all 217 souls on board. The tragedy, shrouded in mystery and controversy, continues to spark debate and speculation to this day. The flight, which had originated in Los Angeles, was cruising smoothly at 33,000 feet when it suddenly entered a rapid descent. The aircraft, plummeting towards the ocean at near supersonic speeds, disappeared from radar screens just 26 minutes after its final radio transmission. The investigation, a complex and often contentious affair involving Egyptian and American authorities, struggled to reconcile conflicting theories about the cause of the crash. The Egyptian investigators, focusing on possible mechanical failures, pointed to issues with the aircraft's elevator control system. The American investigators, however, drew different conclusions based largely on the analysis of the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder. Their findings suggested that the crash was a result of deliberate actions by the relief first officer, though the motivations behind such actions remain unclear. The tragedy of Egypt Air Flight 990, with its lingering questions and unresolved debates, stands as a stark reminder of the complexities involved in aviation accident investigations. It underscores the importance of international cooperation, transparent data sharing, and a relentless pursuit of the truth, even in the face of conflicting theories and cultural sensitivities. Our journey takes us now to the skies above the Pacific Ocean, where on January 31st, 2000, Alaska Airlines Flight 261, a McDonnell Douglas MD-83 en route from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico to Seattle, Washington, became a tragic example of the catastrophic consequences that can arise from a seemingly small mechanical failure. The flight, carrying 88 souls, was cruising smoothly at 31,000 feet when disaster struck. The aircraft's horizontal stabilizer, a crucial control surface responsible for maintaining the plane's pitch, malfunctioned due to a catastrophic failure of its jack screw assembly, a threaded rod that moves the stabilizer. The pilots, struggling to maintain control of the rapidly descending aircraft, fought valiantly to regain altitude. Their desperate struggle, captured on the cockpit voice recorder, paints a harrowing picture of skill and determination amidst unimaginable chaos. Despite their heroic efforts, the damage to the horizontal stabilizer proved too severe. The MD-83, now uncontrollable, plunged into the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Point Mugu, California, claiming the lives of all on board. The tragedy of Alaska Airlines Flight 261 led to significant changes in aircraft maintenance procedures and regulatory oversight. The investigation revealed that the failed jack screw had not been properly lubricated, leading to excessive wear and eventual failure. The disaster highlighted the importance of meticulous maintenance, proper lubrication of critical components, and the need for a robust system of checks and balances to ensure that maintenance tasks are performed correctly. We journey now to the heart of the Florida Everglades, where on May 11, 1996, ValueJet Flight 592, a McDonnell Douglas DC-9, en route from Miami to Atlanta, became a fiery testament to the importance of proper handling and transportation of hazardous materials. The flight, carrying 110 souls, had barely left the runway when disaster struck. A fire, ignited by improperly stored and labeled oxygen generators in the aircraft's cargo hold, quickly engulfed the DC-9 in flames and toxic smoke. The pilots, struggling to maintain control of the aircraft amidst a rapidly deteriorating situation, fought bravely to return to Miami International Airport. However, the fire, fueled by the oxygen generators and exacerbated by the flammable nature of some cargo materials, spread rapidly, overwhelming the aircraft's systems and rendering it uncontrollable. The DC-9, engulfed in flames and smoke, plunged into the Everglades, claiming the lives of all on board. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the aviation industry, prompting a major overhaul of regulations governing the transportation of hazardous materials. The investigation into the crash of ValueJet Flight 592 revealed a systemic failure to properly handle and transport dangerous goods. The oxygen generators, improperly deactivated and mislabeled as empty, had been loaded into the cargo hold alongside other combustible materials. The disaster led to the creation of stricter regulations and enforcement protocols for the transportation of hazardous materials by air. New training programs were implemented for airline personnel and cargo handlers, emphasizing the importance of proper identification, labeling, packaging, and securing of dangerous goods. Our somber journey takes us to the Pacific island of Guam, where on August 6, 1997, Korean Air Flight 801, a Boeing 747 en route from Seoul, South Korea, crashed into Nimitz Hill while attempting to land at Guam International Airport, claiming the lives of 228 of the 254 people on board. The flight, carrying weary travelers and eager vacationers, encountered a series of miscommunications and errors that turned a routine landing into an unfathomable tragedy. The aircraft, approaching the airport in heavy rain and poor visibility, was being guided by the airport's instrument landing system, a critical navigational aid that helps pilots land safely in adverse weather conditions. However, a critical piece of the ILS equipment, the glide slope, which provides vertical guidance, was out of service. While the pilots were aware of this issue, a series of communication breakdowns and misunderstandings between the crew and air traffic control led to a fatal misjudgment of altitude. The pilots, believing they were higher than they actually were, continued their descent, unaware that they were dangerously close to the ground. The Boeing 747, its wings clipping trees and the side of Nimitz Hill, crashed and broke apart, scattering debris across a wide area. The tragedy of Korean Air Flight 801 exposed the critical importance of clear and concise communication in aviation, particularly in high-stress situations. The investigation highlighted the need for standardized phraseology, improved crew resource management, and a heightened awareness of the potential for misunderstandings, especially when dealing with language barriers and cultural differences. Our journey concludes in the quiet French countryside near the town of Gonesse, where on July 25, 2000, Air France Flight 4590, a supersonic Concorde jet en route from Paris to New York City, met a tragic end, marking the beginning of the end for supersonic passenger travel. The flight, carrying 100 passengers and 9 crew members, had just taken off from Charles de Gaulle Airport when disaster struck. A tire on the left side of the aircraft, punctured by a piece of metal debris on the runway, burst upon takeoff. The debris from the tire rupture, propelled with immense force by the Concorde's high speed, struck the underside of the aircraft's wing, causing a fuel tank to rupture and ignite. The resulting fire, fueled by the leaking jet fuel, quickly engulfed the left wing and engine. The pilots, struggling to control the crippled aircraft, attempted to reach Le Bourget Airport, located just a few miles away. However, the fire, spreading rapidly and causing catastrophic damage to the aircraft's structure and control systems, made a safe landing impossible. The Concorde, engulfed in flames and trailing a plume of black smoke, crashed into a hotel in Gonesse just minutes after takeoff, claiming the lives of all on board and 4 people on the ground. The tragedy, witnessed by horrified onlookers, sent shockwaves through the aviation world, marking the first and only fatal accident involving the Concorde. The crash of Air France Flight 4590, while attributed to a series of unfortunate events, cast a long shadow over the future of supersonic passenger travel. The Concorde, once a symbol of technological prowess and human ambition, was grounded for over a year following the crash. Thank you for joining us on this somber journey through a decade of aviation tragedies. These events, each etched in history with their own unique circumstances and heartbreaking loss, serve as a solemn reminder of the fragility of life and the constant pursuit of safer skies. While we pause to remember the lives lost, we must also acknowledge the profound impact these tragedies have had on the aviation industry. Each investigation, meticulously piecing together the fragments of disaster, has yielded invaluable lessons that have led to significant improvements in aircraft design, maintenance practices, safety regulations, and pilot training. The legacy of these tragedies lives on in the unwavering commitment to safety that permeates every aspect of modern aviation. From the engineers who design and build our aircraft to the pilots who command them, the lessons learned from these events serve as a constant reminder that the pursuit of safer skies is an ongoing journey, a shared responsibility that unites us all. Please like, share, and subscribe for more informative content.